So very good afternoon, everyone. I'm back. Cool. So thanks for bearing me in the morning. And what I'm now going to do is something very interesting. And this is again not my story at all. This is a workshop which is going to extend for about the next 1 hour. I know we've eaten up in your supposedly a tea break, which had to happen. It's no more there. But I promise that this session would definitely be something very, very exciting, something that you guys really, really, really will take a lot of stuff back with you. The workshop is called Storytelling for Founders, right? So let's sort of begin with what is storytelling, right? So everyone here in this room would understand the fact that our mothers, our parents, grandparents, nana nanis, everyone have been telling stories, right? Since birth, we've been hearing stories, right? So some stories which were very, very small, bookish stories. Some stories larger than life. The Mahabharata, Ramayana, and so on and so forth, right? Now, what's most critical for a startup, apart from all that you've heard since morning, right? Everything, fundraising, hiring people, scaling up, everything, right? So let me start with the story. Let me start with the journey. About 8.5, 9 years back, I started my first company. The company was called Until ROI Consulting. We were a social media B2B consulting company. I started the company. We grew from about zero, as in I consider myself zeroth employee of the company, to about 7 people full time. Right? We raised some money from investors, and right then, me and the investors, we had two very different thought process about how to take the company further, and we split, right? So that's number one. And that's when I found the first ever gap in my life, and the gap was, what next? Ab kya kare, right? There's no company left. I don't have a job to do. What the hell do I do in life, right? So I was very, very lucky to meet some very incredible gentlemen and people from the startup ecosystem who helped out, right? And then I went ahead, joined an interesting industry association called TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs, right? Worked for a while there. When another interesting thing happened, which was Hike Messenger. Anyone heard of it? Right? Brilliant, awesome, great. So I was employee number 29th at Hike. Saw the app from when it was not even live to about 5 odd million users, and then came the second big decision of life, which is when I started my second company. And the second company was called Hashtag. We had built a social network, almost something like Facebook for startups, wherein our intent was, why should you lose money at all, right? Why should you guys at all lose money while building companies? Why can't you actually validate your ideas before even starting up, right? Interestingly, we were able to excite a couple of people at Intel and UC Berkeley. And across many, many thousands of startups who had applied to this program, about 20 of them were chosen across the world, and we were one of them from India. Flown from Delhi to Silicon Valley, met a lot of people there, learned a lot, and then came back. The second venture, when I launched the venture here in India, we had 3,000 odd users in the first week of launch without spending any money at all. But the venture failed. And I had raised some money. Not a lot of money, but some money for sure. And I wasted that money as well, right? Now, one big learning out of this was the fact that across all of what I've just told you, I realized something very, very powerful in life. And that powerful realization was when my last investor said something very interesting to me. And he said, Paritosh, look, I haven't given you these 5 or these 10 lakh rupees to be invested in your venture. I don't know whether it will work or not. Chances are very, very high that at an early stage, it will not actually be successful. I'm giving you this money because of a simple reason. You seem to be a decent guy. That's about it. And that's a big learning, by the way. For everyone in this room, this is a massive learning. What's most important for you to understand as founders, existing or future, doesn't matter. But what's most important for you guys to understand is the fact that people at an early stage will invest into you, or employees will join you, or anything will happen to you only and only and only if you're able to tell a convincing, a powerful, and insanely great story. Something that you truly passionately believe in. Like really, really, really strongly. Otherwise, it's bullshit. I mean, you're wasting your time, you're wasting someone else's time. I think it would just not work out. Simple as that, right? So that's what this whole session is about, storytelling for founders. One promise right up front, and that promise is every slide in this presentation, I know, presentations are generally very, very boring, but I promise every slide here is a practical example of, and no gyan, no bullshit, all real stuff that you might or might not actually find there on Google. So let's begin. Let's begin with the story of 100,000 merchants. As I said in the morning, I represent a company called PayUmoney. So let me sort of begin with that first story. At PayU, so we have about 100,000 plus merchants today in the company, right? So we realized, what is it that takes to build a company with 100,000 plus merchants and 4.5 million users? Kya chahiye? What are we doing? Hum kya kar rahe hain? What are we up to? Let's say if one of you right now signs up as a partner with me, to sell my product further, what is that convincing story that I must tell you, which you would then further on tell to many, many, many more people and resell my product? What is that story? And we realized after many, 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 many discussions that the story is simple. Can we build a company which trivializes online payments? And when I say trivialize, online payments has to be so simple that starting from a sabzi wala to a Snapdeal could use our technology to take online payments. We started with the story. We said, OK, this is sounding convincing. This is sounding interesting. Let's sort of start with the story, right? And then the plot of the story came, right? So every story has to have a plot, a strong plot, right? Otherwise, the story it just won't work. And that plot was, look, from a story for a startup or for any business comes a product, right? Ultimately, what you will sell, right, is a product. Whether it's a bike or whether it's a technology or whether it's an airplane, whether it's fashion, anything, it's a product, right? Now, if you've decided upon your story, now next comes the plot, which is your product. When we decided it, we said, OK, our story must turn into a technology which is dead simple. So what we did was, we went to a lot of merchants out there and started asking them, what are the two most simplest form or factors of technology that you understand very well, right? And people answered email and SMS. Trust you me, across India, हमारे पूरे देश में आज, right? People understand email and SMS by default. हर कोई जानता है SMS भेजना और SMS पढ़ना, और email पढ़ना भी largely हर कोई जानता है, right? So when we realized this, we said, why actually invest shit tons of money to build some of the sexiest looking dashboards and say that, PayU is built like the thing in the world out there? Why not actually leverage existing technology which people already understand and build upon it? And that's when, instead of investing multi-million dollars, this is a big lesson for all startups here. So instead of wasting money or investing multi-million dollars into sexiest solutions possible, what we did was we built two very simple, incredibly dead simple products called an email invoice and an SMS invoice. What that basically means is, right now, if I were to take money from you, I could send you an SMS via my app. The SMS will have a link. You'll click on that link. A payment screen will open in front of you, and you'll be able to pay me via your credit card, debit card, or net banking. Boom, simple. That's it, right? And that's what happened. So from a story, remember, from a story came the product, and that product was a physical manifestation of the story itself. Now comes the third important piece and a big, massive learning for everyone here in this room, and that is, from a story comes the product, but from a product, what's most important is the onboarding, right? Even if you build the most simplest technology out there, until and unless it is incredibly easy to get onboarded with, people just won't come. True. They won't, right? And that's when we started again realizing, right? We said, what is the most simplest way in India, localized, to onboard people? Here is the simplest way. Try giving a missed call on a number which is 72101 Anyone here, just try giving a missed call here. It won't cost you a penny, by the way, right? It's totally free. So what we realized was this. The moment you, by the way, give a missed call on this number, any business in this room who's looking to take online payments for their startup or for their businesses will get a call back from our sales team saying, you gave a missed call on this number. Do you need an online payments gateway? So the point is that using missed call as an onboarding technology, or call it as an onboarding system, we were able to make it dead simple for startups who are well-read people right here in this room to the kapda bechne wala at Surat or in Ahmedabad. For everyone across, everyone understood the fact that to get an online payments system for my company or for my startup, all that I need to do is give a missed call, and that's about it, right? So from a story to a product, from a product to onboarding, these are the 3 steps that you guys need to really understand. Let me now sort of move to something more interesting. This was about PayU. Obviously, I need to sell my company, right? Jokes apart. But let's move on to something more interesting. On the slide, there's something written. Let me see how many people guess it out here. So a small pharmacy to a philosophy that now forces consumer durable giants to rethink. Anyone who guesses what am I talking about? Wow, man. Baba Ramdev ne kamal kar diya yaar. Okay, cool, jokes apart. So this is it, right? Patanjali, as a brand, started as a small pharmacy. Very, very small pharmacy, just one single store. From that to about 3,000 crores of a turnover. Crazy. And none of us could actually imagine this happening, right? Baba Ramdev has no formal education in entrepreneurship. I'm sure he has no degrees, for sure. And you don't need one. I'll tell you why. Before I go to the next slide, let me ask all of you, in fact, everyone, this is a question to all people in this room right now, everyone from any country, doesn't matter. Has ever any of your parents or grandparents, have they ever remarked कि हमारे ज़माने में तो खाना इतना शुद्ध मिलता था, तभी आज हम सेहतमंद हैं. No, that's why we are healthy, because the food which was served to us in our times was far more healthier than what you guys eat today. Yes or no? Now, if that is true, imagine what Patanjali did. You know, what Patanjali did was, sorry? Okay, so what Patanjali did is something very, very interesting. They leverage something that has been subconsciously fed into your brain since the day you were born. And that subconscious thought or message in your brain was purity. Khana shuddh milta tha. Shuddh, and more of it. And that's what you've subconsciously been fed again and again and again and again. This, by far, is the most powerful lesson in marketing for any startup or a large company, doesn't matter. What really you need to understand as founders is the fact that if you've defined your target audience, right? So every startup or every company or every founder would probably have some sort of a definition for their target audience, right? So my target audience is, let's say, X, Y, Z, right? Stop everything. Don't write customer archetypes, which your investors want you to write. Try and understand what is it that your target audience understands in the subconscious. Talk to them, and when I say talk to them, don't go to them with a questionnaire. Most investors would actually ask you to go, do hundreds and 500s and thousands of questionnaires, right? That's called a great enough sample size, to sort of build a perception or an assumption on. But you don't need to do that. All that you need to do is this: whether men or women, whoever are your customers, go to them and talk to them in the most natural environment that they are in. As an example, if, let's say, me and one of my friends, Sandeep, who's sitting here, we would catch up. We would probably catch up over a beer or a coffee, and we would just talk for the sake of talking. And that's about it. Right at that moment, what really happens is, by default, what's there in our brains will match. And also the fact that since we are in our natural state of being, both of us will not have a certain or act from a certain perception. We will just be in our most natural state. And that's the best state to understand your customer. So what you need to do is not go to your customer with a questionnaire. Go to your customer with a clear conversation that you want to have with them in the most natural state that he or she is in. Let me now ask everyone a question. By the way, this question should have actually come before the slide. Who is your customer? Very quickly. Anyone? Who is your customer? Anyone? Any founder? Sir, who is your customer? Okay, so your customers are everyone. Okay, anyone else? Who's your customer? Anyone else who wants to answer this question? Who, sir? Students. Anyone else? Who's your customer? Quickly. CFOs. Anyone else? Who's the customer? I need a better answer. Anyone who buys the product, right? Sorry? Anyone who owns or buys the product. Appreciates the vision. Okay, who's not you or including you. Now here's the case, without just really sort of wasting time on this. Look, the biggest problem today, and should I call it a problem or a challenge today, is this, that most of us, when we are asked this question, who is our customer, give the same set of answers, right? My customer is someone who gives me money. My customer is someone who will buy my product. My customer is someone who's blah, 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 blah. If you were to really, really understand, the real customer is a man or a woman. I'll prove to you how. The moment we all step out of this hall into the traffic outside in Delhi, we are all as frustrated with traffic, are we not? Right? So that's a common problem across all of us, for all of us, right? Try and extrapolate exactly this feeling in your customers, and you would realize that ultimately the biggest challenge that you create for yourself is you start with a business idea and then you start defining your target audience. Instead of that, try understanding people as people, a woman, a man, and that's about it. And that's when you would realize that the same set of problems that you have in your life are exactly the same set of problems that she or me have in my life. Now comes the business, which is the moment you understand the same set of problems that she or me have in our lives, chances are very, very high that when we will think of solutions for ourselves, we will think very deep because it's about ourselves or our relatives or someone very, very close to us. The moment you understand your customer as a man or a woman for whom you're building a solution, whether your father, whether your mother, whether your sister, doesn't matter, a man or a woman, you would end up building a solution which is far, far more valuable. You will end up solving that problem in a much more valuable manner compared to when you operate from the context of building a business or a billion-dollar venture or anything at all. So effectively, what you need to understand is this, that your story at this point of time when you haven't even built a product has to be amazingly emotional. And that emotional story will come out only and only and only when you engage with your customer as a man or a woman. And you understand their problems as exactly the same set of problems that you have in your life. And that's when you would understand that matrimonial websites could probably play far deeper a role in human lives compared to what they do right now, if you were to understand people and relationships at a much more deeper level. I actually did not stop right here. So what I did was this. I understood and started reading Patanjali, and I started really understanding, reading about this brand very, 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 very deeply, and I wrote a book about it. Not that I'm here to sell this book to you, but the point is this. Whenever you get time, and if you're inspired enough, go on Amazon, right? Click here. Try and read a chapter specifically that is there in this book, which is a chapter on delusions, and I'll come to why delusions, right? So we've all been hearing about startups since morning, right? I mean, all startup founders, everyone here on stage, rock stars, right? They've raised money, they've done stuff. Do you understand why would someone leave a very cushy job and start up? Why? I mean, why would someone do that? There's no logic to it, right? I mean, you're being paid $1.5 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees a month in salaries, and you still leave your cushy job, and you start up. Okay, great. Anyone else who would want to express himself or herself? Sorry? Passion, okay. Okay. Ma'am, you had something? Independence. Interesting. You know what? All of you right now sitting in this room, whoever is answering this question, is in a state of something called positive delusion. It's not something that I'm saying. The professor of psychology who's not here right now, it's a field of psychology that is called a state of positive delusion. I'll come to what it is a little later, but let's move on quickly. My story number 3 to you is actually something very powerful. If you understand this, I promise to you, whatever, absolutely anything that you want from either your investor, from your customer, from your potential employees, it will happen for you. And that is the story of imagination. At any given point of time, if you're pitching to an investor, any given point in time, if you're pitching to an employee, or at any given point of time, if you're pitching to a potential co-founder, so to say, the one thing that you really need to do is create space for imagination. Throw open an idea, but don't sell the idea. Let the other person imagine. Because the moment he or she does, they are getting into this very interesting state of positive delusion, wherein at any given point of time, they'll feel passionate about that idea. At any given point of time, they will actually start getting this very deep sort of a innate answer from within, which will say, yaar, main ye salary ke liye thoda kar raha hu. Meri life salary ke liye thoda hai, which is totally untrue. If today, any senior executive here in this room who's earning more than 1.5 to about lakh rupees a month, here in this room, if I take away your salary right now, and for the next year, you have to stay without a salary, will you? Totally, without any money, and you will sustain your life. Magical, man, wow. Okay, I'm going to be honest, I won't be able to, sorry. Money has to come, right? If there is no money inflow, how would you sustain your family? It's nonsense. I don't know, how would you sustain yourself? If there is no money, how would you pay your rents? How will you have petrol in your car or in your bike? Okay, cool. Whatever. Cool. So money will dry up, right? The point is, for the next 1 year, after all of this money dries up and you have no salaries, what would you do then? Right? सबको डर लगेगा, right? And फिर आप वो भी नहीं पी पाओगे जो कहता है डर के आगे जीत है. It's all nonsense. But what you got to really understand is this. At any given point of time, after you have a story, a product, simple onboarding, the next most important thing is imagination. Create that space. Now a question for everyone in this room, and this is an important question. By the way, every word on this slide is absolutely perfect. Please don't try and change that minute to seconds. The question is, what is the most effective 90-minute commercial ever seen? Anyone? Yes, 90-minute commercial. It is not 90 seconds. I'm repeating again, it's a 90-minute commercial. What is the most effective 90-minute commercial ever seen? Anyone? Sorry? Okay, a Bollywood movie? Yeah, could be. I mean, that's a logical answer. Correct? Saas Bahu serials. Anyone else? An IPL match? I mean, yeah, an IPL match. It's literally head-to-toe commercials, right? Okay, cool. Here it is. The most incredible commercial, which is totally a commercial from the beginning till the end, is the Lego movie. You know, what happens after watching a Lego movie, and this is what the director once said, that whether you are an adult who's watching the Lego movie, or whether you are an adult with your kids who is watching the Lego movie, ultimately, if you're an adult, what it opens up for you is a way of imagination, and that imagination is, now I'll go back to my first slide, the first thing that I said, which is the simplest possible story, right? That's what we created, the simplest possible story. Here, it's the simplest possible thought the human brain can think of, which is small blocks, right? Lego blocks are this big. The smallest possible entity would probably be just one single block, right? Now that one single block could turn into a superhuman. And that's what Lego movie does to your perception, what it does to your brain. It makes you imagine. By the way, the same imagination that it takes you through is the same imagination that it also takes your children through. And for them, it opens up a whole new world. But for 9